power, fight down our halo.
What is going on, guys? You got Tone here, coach of the Maine Red Clawitzers, bringing you week 1 of season 3 of the International Battling League. Maine Red Clawitzers are here taking on Ryan, coach of the Liverpool Linoones, in a early division matchup. Now, we are trying to build some momentum here after making the playoffs last season despite going 5-7. It's a new team, using a lot of Pokemon of which I have no experience whatsoever using. My draft did get kind of funky at the end. If you missed my draft recap, the link will be in the description down below. So with that out of the way, just going to run down my opponent's team really quick. As you see, my team of 11 is on the top, and my opponent's team is on the bottom. And the main thing you'll see right away is the fact that Thunderous does have its way against his team, with the exception of the Claydol. If he doesn't bring Claydol in the battle, my Thunderous Therian can freely spam Volt Switch on his team for days. Other things to note is the fact that he has a lot of Pokemon that either can levitate or is either levitating or flying. Like, he has 3 flying types on his team, which is kind of crazy. But he does have some nice defensive synergy between Tapu Fini plus Registeel. Can be pretty difficult to break down. And then he has the offensive threats between Greninja, Mimikyu, Dragonite, Thundurus, Alakazam can be a pain. Arcanine, even a defensive Arcanine is still it's still a pain offensively speaking, even though it won't be hitting that hard, but it's still a threat nonetheless. So, and the other thing to note is the fact that he has a bunch of priority between his Mimikyu, his Dragonite, and his Arcanine with double extreme speed plus Shadow Sneak. So, and my team isn't the fastest, so he probably doesn't need to bring those types of moves, but nonetheless, I still consider them to be a very big issue in this battle. So, with all that being said and done, I am now going to break down the team that I am bringing in the battle against the Liverpool Linoones. First Pokemon you see here on the screen, you have Gloria the Hippowdon with Stealth Rock, Slack Off, Earthquake, and Stone Edge. I initially had Ice Fang over Stone Edge, but I figured that I missed out on hitting the Claydol, which is fine because I have other ways of dealing with the Claydol, which I will get to in a minute. Stone Edge plus Earthquake gave me the best coverage against everything on his team except for the Claydol, like I said. Running a mixed defensive set here just to take hits from pretty much anything on his team. The 28 speed EV lets me outspeed an uninvested Registeel. 76 defense in special defense with a careful nature allows me to, it gives me a better chance of living 2 hidden power ices from a Life Orb Thundurus. And the rest is just put into HP, 148 defense, and 4 attack, as there's nowhere else to put it. So basically, this is my Stealth Rocker, my way of checking. It checks the Dragonite. It checks Dragonite. Thanks to Sandstream, I can pop the I can bust multi-scale as long as he's not leftovers. I can Stone Edge the Thundurus, Earthquake the Alakazam, and Earthquake the Arcanine, bar it not being Will-O-Wisp. I have to scout for that. So that is my Hippowdon. Moving on now to the second Pokemon on the team, we have Quetzalcoatl, our Choice Scarf, Thunderous Therian with Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, Dark Pulse, and HP Ice. This is one of the ways I am going to be using to breaking down his team. Like I said, if he doesn't bring Claydol, Thunderous Therian can freely spam Volt Switch against his entire team. Choice Scarf is nice because it lets me outspeed and revenge kill stuff like Alakazam. If its Sash has been broken, I can revenge kill Aerodactyl. Thundurus can't really do much to me outside HP Ice. Dark Pulse is mainly here for the Claydol. HP Ice deals more damage to the Dragonite. Hits the it's mainly for the Dragonite, but that's about it. The investment lets me outspeed. I outspeed an Adamant max speed Mimikyu with 220 speed, max special attack, with the modest nature, hit as hard as possible. The rest is put into HP. So this is basically going to be my revenge killer. And like I said, if he doesn't bring Claydol, I can lead out with Thunderous and just click Volt Switch against this entire team. The only thing I would fear basically is like a Choice Scarf Greninja, or like if he leads out with Dragonite and just goes for a Choice Band Extreme Speed, which I again have to scout for. So that is Thundurus Darien. Number 3 on the team, we have Caltrops, our Akaberry Ferrothorn with Leech Seed, Thunder Wave, Power Whip, and Gyro Ball. And before I go any further, I also want to give a shout out to my good friend Matty Brock for helping me fine-tune the team. I already had most of the team down, but he helped me out with the team and helped me look over some issues I did have with it. So initially I did have Mienshao in this slot, like a Life Orb Mienshao, just to worry down stuff like Tapu Fini, Registeel, stuff like that. But at the same time, Mienshao couldn't really do much about breaking past Tapu Fini, as Life Orb Poison Jab was a 3-hit KO, and in retaliation, Moonblast is close to a one-hit KO because I wasn't running Naive Nature. So figured I'd switch to this and give me a better response to like his setup sweepers. If his Dragonite isn't Lumburied, I can paralyze it. I can paralyze the Mimikyu, slow that thing down, paralyze the Arcanine on the switch. He doesn't have a grass type, so I can fully spam Leech Seed in this case. And Power Whip and Gyro Ball is just there for main stab. It is weird that I'm running Thunder Wave and Gyro Ball at the same time, but because of the nerf to Thunder Wave only cutting an opponent's Pokemon in a Pokemon speed in half when you're paralyzed as opposed to 1/4 speed, Iron Head didn't really matter in this case, because even if I paralyzed something, I wouldn't be faster. So Gyro Ball still ended up being the stronger stab of the two. The investment, it's mostly just to balance out Ferrothorn's defenses, and I wanted to prepare for everything. So on the off chance that he does bring Claydol and for whatever reason he runs Hidden Power Fire, because Ferrothorn is a solid switch into Claydol, as Earth Power doesn't do much and it resists its Psychic Stab. So I figured for whatever reason, if Claydol does bring HP Fire, I can take at least 2 of them with the Akaberry plus the second hit, and then Power Whip should do at least 70% depending on his investment. If he's like max HP, it probably does about 55%, but I know I could take at least 2 HP flyers from a max special attack modest Claydol, which is what his investment is for, and the rest is put into defense to take hits better from like the Mimikyu and whatnot and try to paralyze that thing. But mainly that's only as a last resort for switching in on something like Mimikyu. I don't want to sacrifice Ferrothorn for no reason. So I just had to play. If I just play correctly, I'll be fine. So moving on to Pokemon number 4, we have Adele, our Assault Vest Meloetta with Hyper Voice, Dazzling Gleam, U-Turn, and Shadow Ball. So the main reason Meloetta is here on the team is because I needed 2 things. I wanted something that can switch in decently on Thundurus without having to go directly into my Hippowdon or my Ferrothorn. At the same time, I wanted something that prevented him from spamming Shadow Sneak and Shadow Claw with his Mimikyu. Meloetta fits both those criteria, as it is immune to Ghost and to the normal typing. I considered running Focus Blast over Shadow Ball in the last slot, but I figured I had plenty of ways to weaken down the Registeel between Hippowdon, Thundurus. I can Leech Seed the Ferrothorn. The only thing I would fear is if he's a Curse Registeel, that can be an issue. I have to see what he does there, but if he brings Registeel and doesn't bring Claydol, it will just spring in my mind he's Stealth Rock. And if he's Stealth Rock Curse, that means he's not going to be Rest Slate Talk. It could be like Rest Chesterberry. This certain situations always come up in my head, so I had to prepare for everything. So basically what I have to do is just wear it down between Hippowdon, Thundurus, and my Ferrothorn getting it with Elite Seed, and my Scolipede, which I was about to get into. The investment allows me to outspeed Adamant Mimikyu with a Tip of Nature. I can U-turn out. I can U-turn Shadow Ball, just pop in the skies. Hyper Voice just for main stab. Dazzling Gleam lets me hit the Dragonite super effectively. Hits the Dragonite, the Alolan Persian, stuff like that. And the Greninja. U-turn for momentum. Shadow Ball hits the Alakazam and the Claydol. So that is Meloetta. Moving on to Pokemon number 5, we have Centikill, the Groundium Z Scolipede with Protect, Poison Jab, Earthquake, and Megahorn. I initially had Megahorn, I initially had Aqua Tail over Megahorn, but as Maddie was looking over the team, it turned out that if I didn't bring Megahorn, Scolipede would be walled by a Fur Coat Alolan Persian, which I found hilarious, but at the same time sad but true. But yeah, so I had to switch back to Megahorn, but Megahorn does let me hit the Claydol. It lets me hit the Claydol harder at its stab. Poison Jab hits the Tapu Fini in EQ with the Groundium Z. Lets me do massive damage to things like Registeel, Arcanine. Even if they're Intimidate, Earthquake still does at least, it should do at least 60%. So if I have Stealth Rock up and Arcanine comes in and intimidates me, I go for the Tectonic Rage, and I put it in range of Poison Jab the following turn. Earthquake the following turn. So it all works out for me in the end. Again, the investment to outspeed Adamant Mimikyu. I didn't want to run enough. I didn't run enough speed for Thundurus, mainly because if he brings Thunder Wave, I'm going to be paralyzed. I'd be crippled anyway, and even after a couple of speed boosts, I would outspeed it again regardless. So that's the only reason why I had Protect over something like Sword Dance, so I could scout and see if the Thundurus is carrying the Thunder Wave, and then I can switch out to either my Thundurus, my own Thundurus Therian, or Hippowdon to take on the T-Wave. So, like I said, speed for Adamant Mimikyu, max attack, rest and HP, just takes some hits better. And last but not least, we have Navi, our Clefable, but Berry Clefable with Soft Boiled Calm Mind, Knockoff, and Moon Blast. Consider running Flamethrower, but like I said, I had multiple ways of dealing with Registeel. So I felt comfortable with it running Knockoff over Flamethrower, so I can knock off some items, some leftovers, a Choice Scarf, whatever. But Berry was just here in the event that his Dragonite is carrying Iron Tail. That's pretty much the only reason why I'm running Berry. If he's Dragonance or Banded Iron Tail Dragonite, I don't think he'll bring Banded because I have multiple responses to Dragonite. But in the event he's DD Iron Tail, I can take one. If its multi-scale has been busted, I can Moon Blast and do about 70%, if I recall correctly, like 65 to 70%, depending on its EV investment. And the EV investment for my Clefable here allows me to take 2 Life Orb Thunderbolts from Thundurus, and the rest is put into HP and defense to take physical hits better from things like the Arcanine. I can take a Flare Blitz and just knock off its leftovers, a Rocky Helmet, whatever. But nonetheless, that is the team I am bringing versus the Liverpool Linoones. So, with that being said, I'm going to switch over to the battle, so we will be right back. So, alright, so we have our Week 1 match of Season 3 of the IBL. I, of course, in the Maine Red Clawitzers, going up against Ryan and his Liverpool Linoones. Now, looking at the team he brought, he decided to bring his Thunderous Incarnate, the Tapu Fini, Claydol, Greninja, Arcanine, and the Aerodactyl. So main things to note on his side of the field: he did not bring Mimikyu, he did not bring Dragonite. Two Pokemon which I was definitely fearing the most, or two of the main Pokemon I was fearing the most. But like I said in the team builder, his only way of stopping my Thundurus from clicking Thunderbolt is the Claydol. Once I get rid of the Claydol, everything on his team gets 2 KO'd by Thunderbolt, and with Stealth Rock and some chip damage, I can easily accomplish said goal. So with that being said, nothing really changed from my lead perspective. I was going to lead up with Thundurus regardless. Even if he did lead off with the Claydol, I would just go hard into my Ferrothorn just to scout and see what he has or whatnot. And for the looks of it, I do match up against his team very, very nicely. Bar the Thundurus, Therian. The only Pokemon I can see being really expendable in this matchup is a Scolipede, because he does have a Thundurus. He had, which I'm assuming will be Pranks to Thunderwave to slow down my Scolipede. Arcanine can be a problem with Intimidate. If I don't get up a speed boost, well, I have Protect, so even with a speed boost, I can't really do much to Aerodactyl, as my Scolipede does not have Rock Slide, and Aerodactyl resists Mega Horn and Poison Jab. But nonetheless, I feel as though I have the team that can better handle this matchup. So with that all being said, I am going to start the video with that. So like I said, as you see, I lead off with my Thundurus Therian. He leads off with his Thundurus Incarnate. So we see Ryan is showing that challenge, not even bad, rocking those nice sunglasses. So he's going to lead off with his Thundurus, as I'm going to end up leading off with my Thundurus Therian. So turn 1, I didn't want to overpredict. I'm just going to click HP Ice, as he does go out into his Fat Friar, which is the Claydol. So I click Hidden Power, that's all well and good. So get some damage off on that. So I know he's going to get up his rocks here, so I'm just going to, instead of going for HP Ice again, I decided to go hard into my Clefable, as he doesn't need to go for Stealth Rock here. I probably could have gone up another HP Ice, but that's on me. So here I decided to go for a knockoff. I'm expecting him to go into Arcanine here, but he goes for Rapid Spin, so he was probably assuming my Clefable was the Stealth Rocker, as he reveals the Cobra Berry. But I am running rocks on my Hippowdon, not my Clefable. And he probably figured I was speed creeping and uninvested Clefable, which I am not. So now he reveals he is Reflect. So we've seen Stealth Rock, we've seen Rapid Spin, and we see Reflect on this Claydol here. I'm just going for knockoff again, thinking he's going to switch into Arcanine this time. And now I'm thinking he's staying in and he's going for Dazzling Gleam. So we see his entire moveset. This was very, very awkward, but if he's going to sack off the one thing he has to stop my Thundurus from clicking Thunderbolt, then I'm all for it. So I'm just going to take this thing out with a Moonblast, as he's just going to try to weaken me with Dazzling Gleam. As you see, it does absolutely nothing to my Clefable, as I finish off the Claydol with the next Moonblast. So main thing for him is he got his rocks up, but main thing for me, I got rid of his Claydol, and Thundurus is looking very, very nice in this matchup. So he goes into Arcanine here. I'm forced to switch out here, and he makes a great play early on. He knows I'm going to go into Hippowdon on the Arcanine, so he's going to double into his Tapu Fini on my Hippowdon switching. So Mischievous Terrain is going to come up here. I'm going to go into my Hippowdon, but it's not the end of the world here, as I do have my Tapu Fini switching being the Ferrothorn, so it's not that big of a deal, as my Sand is now up for 5 turns. I don't really mind. Take the chip damage from the Sandstorm, which in turn reveals he has leftovers. So main thing I'm thinking is that this Tapu Fini is a calm mindset, considering his Claydol had Rapid Spin, so it really makes sense to have Defog on his Tapu Fini. So not wanting to take like a Muddy Water or a Surf, I'm going to go hard into my Ferrothorn here. I figured it would be the wrong play to stay in, try to get my rocks up, trying to take any unnecessary damage. So here's he reveals the taunt. So I'm like, okay, he's probably taunt Calm Mind. That kind of makes sense. Or it could be like taunt Calm Mind Nature's Madness, like a standard defensive set or whatnot, prevent me from potentially hazard stacking on his team as the reflect wears off. So I'm going to go for a power whip here. He's going to withdraw. I know he's going to go into his Arcanine, but whatever damage I get off on this Arcanine is nice. Whatever forces him to go for the Morning Sun as I get a switch into my Hippowdon, but unfortunately I do miss a power whip, which is fine. I mean, it wasn't the end of the world there. It was my only play. I'm not going to stay in, so I'm going to go right back into my Hippowdon as I know I could eat up any hit from this Arcanine whatsoever. I take the Stealth Rock damage, and here he reveals the Overheat, and he unfortunately misses. So now I'm thinking, is this guy a special Arcanine here? I don't see leftovers. He was a potentially Rocky Helmet. I'm thinking like a I don't know of any defensive Arcanine that runs Overheat. So he's going to switch. He's going to go on this type of Feeny here. I take the opportunity to get up my rocks. I know I can still eat up any hit from this Arcanine. So I get my rocks up here. So he basically just trade rocks. Doesn't matter to me. I feel as though it hinders him more than it does me, even though I have my Thundurus Darien. Whatever can get the chip damage necessary for my Thundurus to click Thunderbolt. So I'm going to hard switch back into my Ferrothorn here, as I really have nothing to fear from him, barring a Nature's Madness, which also came to mind. So he's going to go for the Muddy Water, and unfortunately he misses that too. So it sucks on his part. So now he's going to taunt me here, figuring that I might go for like a Spikes or a Leech Seed here. But I'm just going to go for a Power Whip here, because I've seen taunt. I'm not going to try to do anything unnecessary here, as that is a clean 2-hit KO, and my Ferrothorn is uninvested, so that is damage. And whatever puts this Tapu Fini in range of my Thundurus Darian's Thunderbolt is all well and good with me. So he's going to go back out into his Arcanine here. He's going to come in, take the 25% from his Stealth Rock damage, and take the incoming Power Whip. He can intimidate me. A -1 Power Whip will still be doing a decent amount of damage here. And I figured at this point he's going to be forced to either Morning Sun or he can go for Overheat. Either way, my play is to go right back out into my Hippowdon, as I fear absolutely nothing from this Arcanine. Barring he's like Power Up Solar Beam, then that could be a problem. But nonetheless, the Sand is back up on the field. He's going to go for the Overheat. He does connect this time. And you can tell by this damage, I'm going to eat that up, even if he goes for Overheat again. And he reveals he is Life Orb Arcanine. So I'm thinking, okay, so this is more of an offensive Arcanine, not more of a defensive one. So makes my life a little bit easier. Now here I could have went for the Earthquake, but I figured Hippowdon can check. Hippowdon deals with his Aerodactyl, deals. They've taken HP Ice from a Thundurus. So he goes hard into Greninja, expecting me to slack off here, which was a solid play on his part. I'm just going to go for the slack off here to keep my Hippowdon healthy. So I'm essentially back at full HP after full HP here. I'm not going to risk staying in on a Surf here. So I'm going to go. I could have went Meloetta here, but I went hard into my Ferrothorn thinking he would just go for the Hydro Pump or whatnot, but he makes a great play. He predicts me and he goes for the HP Fire. Luckily, I do have my Aqua Berry, so I'm going to eat that HP Fire up very, very nicely. So now here was kind of a misplay, as he revealed he's Life Orb Greninja too. He's not a Z Crystal, which is good, fine by me. Now here I was just sacking this thing off for an HP Fire. He goes for a Surf, predicting me to go back into Hippowdon on the HP Fire, and unfortunately I couldn't capitalize on that. I could just went for Power Whip, but unfortunately I went for Leech Seed. If I had went for Power Whip that turn right there, essentially Thundurus Darien won the entire match. But I don't really know if I consider it a misplay. It was just me just playing safe, so to speak, but I lost nothing by going for Power Whip, because even if I missed, I was sacking off my Ferrothorn because I wanted to go directly into my Thundurus free of charge. So here I sack off my Ferrothorn to the HP Fire. Still felt I could have went to my Sulphus Meloetta there, but I was keeping it in the back for the Thundurus, because I don't want to have my Greninja I don't want it to take any hits like a Greninja Life Orb Dark Pulse. So I go back into, so now I go into my Thundurus here, His Clado is gone. I click Thunderbolt the entire match. So he makes a smart play. He preserves his Greninja and he goes and sacks off his Arcanine here, as it's not going to do much for the remainder of this battle. So Thundurus is going to pick up the first kill of the season for it, and we are sitting pretty at 5-4. So the Arcanine goes down here. He didn't really have much to switch into a Thunderbolt. So now he goes on into his Thundurus here, takes a Stealth Rock damage. Now I did the calcs beforehand, and a Thunderbolt had a 62.5% chance to one-hit KO after Stealth Rocks. Would I get the roll in my favor? Of course I don't. He lives on like 4 HP. He goes for the HP Ice and does a crap ton of damage. But unfortunately for him, I had to go for Thunderbolt one more time. I can't switch out anymore because the Stealth Rocks will kill me. There's the crit I would have liked the previous turn, but nonetheless. So now he goes on into his Greninja, and now I'm thinking, if this Greninja doesn't have Water Shuriken, I win. Plain and simple. Unfortunately for me, he does have Water Shuriken, so the Thundurus Therian potential sweep is gone. But it's all well and good as he dies to the next Life Orb hit, so it's also allowing me to go out into my Meloetta. So I just click whatever, because whatever move he goes for, he's going to die a Life Orb recoil. And I still have my Meloetta to check the Tapu Fini. It's not going to do much to me. That Dark Pulse did so much damage. Thank God it was a Assault Vest. So Greninja here dies to Life Orb recoil. I went for Hyper Voice. Didn't matter what I went for. So now he gets to go out into his Tapu Fini. He takes a Stealth Rock damage, and now I'm thinking Hyper Voice should take out this Tapu Fini from this range. So I decided to go for Hyper Voice, and once again, I don't get the roll, and he goes for Defog. So the entire time he had Rapid Spin Clado and he had Defog Tapu Fini, and it confused me so bad. And now I'm like, okay, you went for Defog. You helped me out more than it helped you, because unless you're like a Focus Sash Aerodactyl, and my Skull OP doesn't take 25% anymore, nonetheless, Meloetta takes out this Tapu Fini with the next Hyper Voice here. So we're up 4-1, and all he has left is Aerodactyl. Now, here was essentially a misplay on my part. I should have went directly into Hippowdon here. It was essentially at full HP. But I decided to sack off Meloetta here and basically give up differential here. I lost absolutely nothing by doing that. And he was revealing he was Life Orb Aerodactyl. So it was 100% in range to die to Stone Edge after a few Life Orb recoil hits. So he goes for the Stone. So now he goes. I'm just going to click Stone Edge. He goes for the Iron Head here, revealing he didn't have Ice Fang. Takes more Life Orb recoil, and my Hippowdon gets flinched. So I'm like, okay, so this is basically all. What he's forced to do, as he has no other way of winning this battle. He basically has to pull a Jirachi and Iron Flinch my Hippowdon down to 0. Sadly, it doesn't happen. We go to the Stone Edge, we connect, and that is going to be game. So we essentially get a 3-0 win in this matchup. We do, which could have been a potential 4-0, but I decided to be an idiot and sack off my Meloetta there. But nonetheless, I really had no reason to sack off Meloetta there. So other than me throwing away essentially a 4-0 and turning it into a 3-0, that was on me. I shouldn't have sacked Meloetta when I had a full HP Hippowdon in the back. I actually forgot that I slacked off a few turns back, so I was a little bit skeptical. And if I had Power Whipped the Greninja instead of going for Leech Seed, it would have been a whole lot easier for my Thunders. It probably could have been a 5-0 if I had made those plays, but I could have missed Power Whip too, so you never know. But nonetheless, good game to my opponent Ryan and the Liverpool Linoones. We do pick up our first win of the season, which kind of was a struggle because the previous 2 seasons of the IBL, I have always lost week 1. So it's finally nice to correct that, sort of break that trend. So nonetheless, I do like how we started off. I felt the game plan was executed perfectly. The Clado was taken out early on in the match, made it a lot easier for my Thunders to click Thunderbolt. Basically, the defensive core of Ferrothorn, Hippowdon, and Clefable played a huge part in this win. So we are 1-0. We move on next week to play Brendan and the Marlborough Mudsdales in our week 2 matchup. And just a note, prior to week 2, we did make some transactions. So what happened after the battle, after all the matches were played for week 1, some people unfortunately couldn't make it, couldn't stay. Blue Rogue, who records my matches for me to record, so shout outs to Blue Rogue for that. He unfortunately could not commit to the season because he had other things to attend to, the PMC, the MPL. So he decided to step down, and his replacement is Jonah, aka Isolate. He'll be taking over his team with the Bullstrike Bisharps, who we do play about week 10 if I recall correctly. So he takes over for Blue Rogue's team. He made his transactions, he made his free switches, and I decided to capitalize on the switches that he made. So you see our Hippowdon on the screen for the first time. It's also going to be the last time you see Hippowdon on the screen, because we have decided to drop Hippowdon, and we dropped our Blastoise, and we picked up the 2 other Pokemon that Jonah decided to drop from his free picks, and that being, we now have access to Starmie, and now we have Nidoqueen. So I really feel as though the team is a lot better with the additions of a better spinner than Blastoise, no offense, but Blastoise cannot go offensively like Starmie can, while at the same time Starmie can still be played defensively, which is great. And Nidoqueen gives me that ground typing I lose from losing the Hippowdon, and I get my Stealth Rocker, and I get an extra Toxic T-Spiker, so I don't have to put T-Spikes on my Scolipede. So with that being said, we're going to head into week 2 with a new team and all that good stuff. I hope you guys enjoyed this match. There are going to be plenty more of that come from. Hopefully I'm going to try to commit to uploading these battles on Tuesdays, as Thursdays is my MPO Minors match, which might be a little bit delayed this week. I don't know yet. And yeah, that's pretty much it for now. There's not much I'm going to add to that. If you guys did enjoy the battle, feel free to hit that like button, subscribe if you are new to the channel. The support really means a lot to me. And I hope you guys are excited for week 2 when we play Brendan and Marlborough Mudsdales. So yeah, I'm just going to end it at that. So hope you guys enjoyed. Thank you guys for watching. And until the next time, my name is Anthony, aka Tone, and I'm going to catch you guys on the flip side. Later.